Hi everyone, Dietitian Teresa here, certified personal trainer and registered dietitian. I'm coming at you with a video where I'm just going to address some common myths around tracking macros and addressing how it can be such a powerful tool in your fat loss journey. Let's dive right in. First, we're going to touch on why macros can be such a powerful tool in your fat loss phase of your life. When we think about going on a fat loss journey, we can't go into it blindly of not knowing where you currently at. There is data that needs to be tracked. So I like to use, body measurements, progress photos, body scans, and weekly weigh-ins. That could be daily for some people depending on your relationship with the scale and the number. Then it goes into a phase of your journey. Fat loss is not a lifelong journey. Fat loss is a phase of your journey where you are working to burn body fat and optimize that lean muscle tissue in the process by focusing on strength training, nourishing your body with whole foods, and knowing what proper macronutrients works well for your body. Myth number one about macros is that macros are so hard, they're so difficult to learn. And while yes, I will say that macros can be a lot in the beginning to learn and adjust to for a little bit, but you think about that short-term learning curve for a long-term gain. I think macros can be a very useful tool for you to learn more about nutrition and educate yourself with that when you are doing the work in your home behind closed doors, and then you go out to social occasions, vacations, and weekend activities and nightly activities, but you feel very confident because you're like, I know what I'm fueling my body with, and I know what I thrive off of. To make it easier on yourself, you just have to really tune into an adaptable mindset, be consistent, and especially in the beginning, that first week or 2 weeks can be very overwhelming for the people that are aiming for perfection. You're not going to know everything when you first start tracking macros, just like, when you go back to school and you are learning lessons to then get to this big test in the end. You can't just take the test and expect yourself to know all the answers. You have to go through different lessons and modules and building on that. So think about macros in that sense too. You are doing the short-term learning process for that long-term gain, lifelong gain, because knowledge is power. And once you have that knowledge, it usually doesn't leave you. Adopt an adaptable mindset, adopt a consistent mindset, strive for the consistency of tracking, especially in that first week or two. We just need the data. We cannot change if we don't know what to change in our macronutrient journey. Second myth about macros is that eating carbs will make you fat. When you see people that have macro distributions of a very higher carb amount than you're used to, you're like, okay, if I eat carbs, then therefore I will gain fat. Not necessarily. But in the beginning, sure, there might be a little weight fluctuation because carbs hold on to more water in our bodies, and that can cause the scale to maybe go up a little bit, especially when you're trying to get your body to adjust to a new macronutrient number. That's not body fat in a short term. So in a week, if your body scale weight changes a little bit, it's not always necessarily body fat. Carbs are actually that primary fuel source for your workouts, for your brain energy, for your body's energy. With macros and how I teach it is that I want you focusing mostly on whole foods, whole minimally processed foods, getting carbs from things like potatoes, rice, squash, and fruits and some vegetables. That's where your carbs are coming from. It's not like it's cookies, cakes, candies, Pop-Tarts, artificial things all the time. The quality of carb matters to a certain point too. And when you're figuring out your body specifically needs for carbohydrates, some people tolerate higher carbohydrates. Some people tolerate a moderate to a lower carbohydrate threshold. Again, comes back to the adaptable mindset. You have to be willing to learn and understand how your body reacts to certain macronutrient balances. The next myth about macros and nutrition is that you need to cut fat in order to lose fat. We are out of the low fat era, ladies. That's not going to benefit your hormones. If you are working towards a bodybuilding competition, if you are going for that, sure, you may need to lower your fats to a certain point, but I think for the women that really listen into my videos, you're in it for, you want to be strong, you want to be lean, you want to feel really good in your body, you want to look like a woman that works out because you put so much effort into it. But you're also in it for so much much more than the aesthetics improving your body composition can bring. Some women have a higher fat threshold and find that you are thriving on more fats than another woman your height, stature, weight would, versus another woman that might be a little bit lower in the fat range, a little bit higher in carb. Another woman could be more moderate, lower carb and higher fat. You don't know until you let yourself be your own little science experiment of learning how you feel best, like what's your sleep, your energy, focus, and cravings and cycles, and how that adapts. And this is why the fat loss journey gets so, in our minds, it can be so complicated, because we're like, I don't have the answer right now. You may not. When it comes down to the basics of the science of fat loss, they work when done consistently over time. It's just then you got to be adaptable with the macro mindset of like, okay, I may see some fluctuations. I don't know what my body may do. I know that the science of this, of fueling my body with like a balance, certain balance of macronutrients, can help optimize muscle, can help optimize my fat loss in this journey. So those are just some myths that come up around macros, around nutrition for fat loss, and mainly what I want you to take away from my content and when I talk about macros is that macros are a tool. They are not the end all be all. Macros can also be used with mindfulness and some intuitive senses. Macros for me in my journey have been really helpful to keep me eating enough in my journey. I think if it works for you, it works for you. Macros will not be the answer for everybody, and that's okay. That's okay, because we all find what works best for us. But big takeaway, once you kind of like evaluate these myths and see, did I believe some of these myths? And maybe question them a little bit more. Download the app, Chronometer app, and I want you to go on that app, and I just want you to track a week of intake and just see where you're at. Just see where you are currently at. Grams of protein, grams of carbs, grams of fats, total calories, grams of fiber on a daily basis, just for the data. It's not that you're doing anything right or wrong right now. Just get the data in the beginning, and then you know where to make the change. So if you are only eating 10 grams of protein at breakfast, you're like, okay, dietitian Teresa kind of recommends, and a lot of other dietitians recommend, at least, 30 grams of protein would be ideal for a breakfast. So maybe next week you're like, how can I add 10 more grams to that breakfast? So now that I have 20 grams, I'm closer to the 30 gram goal. That's just another way to think about it. I hope you got something out of this video. I just wanted to address some common myths that come up around nutrition for fat loss and in macros, and they can be a great asset in your fat loss journey. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more health and fitness content focused towards women's health, women's fat loss journeys, and I am here for you. So stay strong, stay nourished, and I will see you in the next video.